The snowstorm that night came like a fierce, unrelenting beast, devouring everything in its path. The once clear road leading to the small town of Everbrook was buried beneath layers of snow, while the howling winds threatened to tear apart the stillness of the night. Nathaniel Blake gripped the steering wheel of his sleek car, struggling to keep it steady as the icy surface turned treacherous. A sudden, sharp turn proved too much for even his skillful control. The tires skidded helplessly, and with a deafening crash, the car collided with a towering tree on the roadside. Inside the vehicle, the clock on the dashboard blinked, marking each passing second, while the biting cold seeped through Nathaniel's coat. Blood trickled down from a cut on his forehead, and a sharp pain shot through his side. His vision blurred, his strength waning as the cold and pain overtook him. A single thought crossed his fading mind. Was this the end? Just as his consciousness began to fade, a faint figure emerged through the whirling snow. The muffled sound of footsteps grew louder, and soon a gentle voice pierced through the chaos. "Hold on, you're gonna be okay? I'm here." That was the last thing Nathaniel remembered before darkness consumed him. Nathaniel slowly regained consciousness in a small, warm room. The soft glow of a bedside lamp illuminated the space, and he squinted against the dim light. The faint scent of antiseptic lingered in the air, while his body ached as if he had just endured a battle. As he tried to sit up, he felt a pair of gentle yet firm hands guiding him back down. "You're awake. Don't try to move too quickly," a calm, soothing voice said. Turning his head, Nathaniel saw the woman beside him. She had soft brown hair tied back neatly and striking blue eyes that radiated calmness, yet carried an unspoken sadness. For a moment, he wondered if she was real or just a figment of his imagination in the haze of pain and exhaustion. "I'm Clara Hayes," she introduced herself. "I'm a volunteer doctor here. You were in a car accident on the way to Everbrook, but you're safe now." Nathaniel glanced around the room. It was modest. A small bed, a cabinet stocked with medical supplies, and a simple wooden table. But it was filled with a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. "How long have I been here?" Nathaniel asked, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Almost a day. You had injuries to your head and side, but luckily nothing too severe." Clara smiled gently as she adjusted the bandage on his forehead. There was something about Clara's warmth and care that touched Nathaniel. Accustomed to a world of cold calculations and transactional relationships, he felt an unfamiliar sense of comfort. For the first time in years, he sensed a sincerity that his opulent life had never provided. Nathaniel stayed at Clara's clinic for 4 days, giving himself time to fully recover before returning to the city. During this time, a connection began to grow between them. Clara, who usually kept her distance from others, found herself unusually at ease around Nathaniel. She opened up about her past, sharing her story of once being a proud surgeon at a prestigious hospital in the city. Her career had been her life until a complex surgery went tragically wrong. Although the failure wasn't her fault, the media frenzy and public backlash had left her emotionally shattered. Unable to bear the pressure, she had left everything behind and chosen to work as a volunteer doctor in the quiet town of Everbrook. Nathaniel listened intently, feeling the weight of her pain. Yet he couldn't help but admire her resilience and the compassion that had brought her here. In return, Nathaniel shared his own struggles, how his life as a successful CEO was filled with power and wealth, but devoid of true meaning. Despite the lavish parties and endless accolades, he admitted to feeling a constant sense of emptiness. One night, as the snowstorm continued to rage outside, the two of them sat by the fireplace in the small clinic. The warm glow of the fire illuminated their faces, making the space feel more intimate than ever. "Do you ever regret the path you chose?" Clara asked, her gaze distant as she stared out the frosted window. Nathaniel paused, then answered quietly, "Not exactly, but I've never felt it was enough. I think I've been searching for something more, but I didn't know what it was until I met you." His words stopped Clara in her tracks. Her heart wavered, though she tried to keep her composure. But deep down, a flicker of guilt began to stir. Was she allowing herself to get too close, knowing how fragile her world truly was? But the deep connection they had built over these few days broke down the invisible walls between them. In that moment, neither of them could resist the emotions surging within. A soft kiss turned into a night of intimacy as they let themselves be vulnerable with each other. The next morning, Nathaniel received an urgent call from his company. He had to leave immediately, but before departing, he promised Clara he would return. Clara stood at the doorway, watching him disappear into the distance, her heart weighed down by a growing unease. After Nathaniel left, Clara tried to resume her usual routine at the small clinic. But soon, she discovered something that would change her life forever. She was pregnant. The realization left Clara stunned. For a moment, she thought about Nathaniel and his promise to return, but fear quickly overtook her. One day, while organizing some belongings Nathaniel had left behind, she found his business card. Her breath caught as she read the name, Nathaniel Blake, CEO, Blake Medical Innovations. Nathaniel wasn't just wealthy, he was the head of a global medical corporation connected to some of the most prestigious hospitals in the world. As if that wasn't overwhelming enough, a news article surfaced a few days later, revealing an even more crushing truth. Nathaniel Blake was engaged to Evelyn Prescott, the daughter of an influential family. The engagement, as the article explained, was a strategic alliance meant to strengthen the power of both families. Clara felt her world collapse. "He belongs to a world I could never be part of," she told herself. Worse still, she feared that if her past medical failure were to resurface, it would not only destroy Nathaniel's reputation but also shatter the peaceful future she wanted for her unborn child, dragging them both into a whirlwind of judgment and scrutiny. Overcome with fear and pressure, Clara made the painful decision to leave Everbrook. She wrote a short letter to the clinic, explaining that she needed to start fresh elsewhere. No one knew that along with her small suitcase, Clara was carrying a life-changing secret: Nathaniel's child. Leaving the quiet town in the early hours of the morning, Clara told herself it was the only way to protect both her and her unborn baby. But deep down, every step away from Everbrook felt like a knife twisting in her heart. Back in the city, Nathaniel returned to his usual routine of meetings and lavish parties. But everything felt hollow now. The warmth and simplicity of his days in Everbrook haunted him. Clara's voice, her touch, her presence, they consumed his thoughts, leaving him restless and unfulfilled. Though engaged to Evelyn Prescott, Nathaniel knew his heart was not in it. At every grand event, Evelyn stood beside him, radiant and flawless, embodying the perfect partner. But the relationship was nothing more than a calculated arrangement. "You're still thinking about her, aren't you?" Evelyn asked one evening after tabloids hinted at Nathaniel's unusual behavior, speculating that he was searching for someone. He didn't deny it. "We both know this isn't about love," he replied quietly. Unable to endure the charade any longer, Nathaniel broke off the engagement and embarked on a relentless search for Clara. He hired the best investigators, followed every lead, and chased every clue. But Clara seemed to have vanished. Meanwhile, Clara had built a new life, moving from one small town to another, working at community clinics where no one recognized her name. She dedicated herself to raising Elijah, her son, with Nathaniel, pouring all her love into him. Every day she worked hard to create a sense of normalcy, but deep down, she feared the day her past would resurface. Elijah, with his soft brown hair and striking blue eyes, a mere image of his father, was her greatest joy. The boy was curious, kind, and full of life, brightening Clara's darkest days. But on quiet nights when Elijah was fast asleep, Clara often found herself staring out the window, wondering if Nathaniel ever thought about her as she thought about him. After 5 years of searching, Nathaniel was losing hope. He had traveled to countless towns, spoken to hundreds of strangers, but Clara remained elusive. One day, during a business trip to sponsor a charity event in a small town, Nathaniel spotted a young boy sitting in a corner of the courtyard, drawing intently. Nathaniel's heart skipped a beat, then raced uncontrollably. The boy's eyes, blue, bright, and deep, were a perfect reflection of his own. It was as if he were staring into a mirror of his younger self, and the realization hit him like a tidal wave. He walked closer, his voice steady but gentle. "What's your name?" The boy looked up, smiling innocently. "I'm Elijah." The name struck Nathaniel like a thunderbolt. Elijah was the name he had once dreamed of for his future child. Before he could ask more, a familiar voice called out from behind him. "Elijah, what are you doing here?" Nathaniel turned around. Clara stood there, just as he remembered her, though with a faint weariness in her features. Their eyes met, and in that instant, the emotions they had buried for 5 long years came rushing back. Nathaniel stood frozen, every buried emotion from the past 5 years surging through him like a tidal wave. "Clara," he whispered, his voice trembling as if he couldn't believe she was standing before him. Clara, on the other hand, was gripped by fear. She instinctively pulled Elijah behind her, shielding him as though protecting him from something unseen. "Nathaniel, what are you doing here?" Her voice wavered, but her eyes betrayed her panic. Nathaniel took a step closer, his gaze locked on Clara. "The boy, Elijah, he's my son, isn't he?" His question hung in the air, heavy with emotion. Clara's heart raced, and after a long, painful silence, she gave a small nod. "You didn't tell me," Nathaniel said, his voice a mix of anguish and frustration. "You kept this from me for 5 years. I had no idea I had a son." Tears began streaming down Clara's face. "I was scared, Nathaniel. I was scared of what would happen if my past caught up to me, what it would do to you, to your reputation. And more than anything, I didn't want Elijah to grow up in the world you come from, a world of pressure, scrutiny, and judgment." Nathaniel's jaw tightened, his emotions raw. "You didn't trust me, Clara? You thought I wouldn't protect you and our son?" His voice broke. "I've spent 5 years searching for you. I gave up everything to find you, and now you're telling me I wasn't worthy of knowing about my own child?" Clara stood silently, her head bowed, before finally speaking. "I didn't run away because of you, Nathaniel. I ran because I couldn't face that world again. I couldn't bear to drag Elijah into it." Her voice cracked, but her resolve was firm. "I was trying to protect him." Nathaniel softened, the anger fading from his eyes. "Clara, I understand your pain, but we can't let the past dictate our future. I can't let my son grow up without a father, and I can't let you carry this burden alone anymore." Elijah, standing between them, looked up at his mother and then at Nathaniel, his wide, curious eyes flicking back and forth. "Who are you?" he asked innocently. Nathaniel knelt down, his hands trembling as he placed them on Elijah's small shoulders. "I'm your father, Elijah," he said, his voice thick with emotion. The boy turned to Clara for confirmation, and she gave a tearful nod. Slowly, Elijah stepped forward and wrapped his arms around Nathaniel. In that moment, the weight of the past 5 years seemed to lift, leaving only the warmth of reunion. Clara, watching the scene, hesitated before stepping closer. "I'm scared, but maybe I've been wrong to keep running. If you promise to protect me and Elijah, I'll try to face it." Nathaniel took her hand in his gaze resolute. "We'll face it together. I won't let you do this alone anymore." In the weeks that followed, Clara and Nathaniel began rebuilding their lives together. With Nathaniel's encouragement, Clara decided to confront her past by participating in a major medical conference in New York City, a pivotal moment for her to regain her confidence and restore her reputation. On the day of the conference, Clara stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding in her chest. She glanced out at the audience and saw Nathaniel and Elijah seated in the front row, their faces radiating support. Taking a deep breath, she began her speech. 5 years ago, I failed during a critical surgery. The patient didn't survive, and I became the target of media outrage. They called me a murderer in a white coat, Clara said, her voice trembling at first. But today, I stand here to say that I did everything in my power. I am not perfect, but I am dedicated, and I refuse to let fear control my life anymore. The room fell silent, and then a wave of applause swept through the audience. Clara looked down at Nathaniel and Elijah. For the first time in years, she felt free. Not long after, Clara and Nathaniel held a simple wedding surrounded by close friends and family. Elijah ran around excitedly, declaring that he finally had a complete family. Together, they founded the Hope Care Foundation, a charity providing free medical services to underserved communities. Clara continued her work as a doctor, this time free from the shadows of her past. Nathaniel, once a CEO consumed by power and profit, found true meaning in building a life of purpose. One quiet evening, the three of them sat on the couch in their cozy home. Clara leaned against Nathaniel's shoulder while Elijah curled up beside them. Nathaniel whispered softly, We have everything now, don't we? Clara smiled, squeezing his hand tightly. Yes, we do. We've finally found where we belong. After their simple but heartfelt wedding, life for Clara, Nathaniel, and Elijah entered a new chapter, one filled with laughter, love, and warmth. The family moved into a cozy house in the suburbs, complete with a lovely garden where Clara's favorite flowers bloomed. Every morning, Elijah could be found running around the yard, tossing a ball with Nathaniel, while Clara stood by the window, smiling at the sight of her two favorite people. Nathaniel, once consumed by his career and the relentless pursuit of power, now cherished the simple joys of family life. He had traded boardrooms and contracts for bedtime stories and laughter, finding a fulfillment he never thought possible. He found joy in the smallest moments, baking cookies with Elijah, reading quietly with Clara in the evenings, and helping her prepare dinner. He often said, "Life truly began the day I met you." Clara, with her playful sense of humor, loved teasing Nathaniel about their fateful meeting during the snowstorm. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, she grinned and said, "You know, Nathaniel, I didn't just save your life that day. I saved myself a pretty wonderful husband." Nathaniel laughed, reaching across the table to hold her hand. "And I'm the luckiest man alive to have been saved by the most incredible woman." Elijah, sitting between them, giggled and added, "Mom's the best doctor and Dad's the best cookie maker." His innocent remark sent the whole family into fits of laughter, filling the cozy kitchen with warmth and joy. On weekends, the family often spent time at the Hope Care Foundation, the medical center they had established together. Clara continued her work as a doctor, caring for patients, while Nathaniel managed the fundraising efforts. Elijah, though still young, loved helping his mom hand out medicine and befriending the patients who came to the clinic. Every night, before bed, the family would gather on the sofa in the living room to share the highlights of their day. Clara would look at Nathaniel and Elijah, feeling the love that filled every corner of their home. "We have everything we could ever need," she whispered, leaning her head on Nathaniel's shoulder. "And it all started with a snowstorm," Nathaniel replied, pressing a kiss to her forehead. With laughter ringing through the air and warm light illuminating their home, their family was the perfect picture of happiness, a testament to love, resilience, and the joy of finding where they truly belonged.